Hi guys, how are you? I'm back with another video, and yes, it is again about the S24 Ultra. Now, before we start, I just wanted to thank you for your love and support so far, and it would really mean so much to me if you can just like and subscribe my channel. It doesn't cost anything, so it is my humble request. It will help me to grow the channel. All right. So I wanted to talk about the reasons why you should not consider the S24 Ultra. Now, don't get me wrong. This is actually a brilliant phone and you cannot go wrong with it if you choose this. But of course, just like with any other product, there are a few things that you need to consider before you buy this phone. So I will talk about this. I know there's not much to talk about, basically because this phone does not have too many negatives, to be frank, at least in my opinion. But still, there are a few things. So let's start. So first is the price of the phone. Now, as Flossie Carter says, that the price is too goddamn high. This is actually true, and it depends on which region you live in. It's basically expensive everywhere. In some regions, it's actually more expensive than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. But in regions like India, the iPhone is still priced much higher than this phone. So if you are on a budget, or like even if you have uh, quite deep pockets and looking for a flagship phone, there are still many other options which will give you almost like 90-95% of the same performance, camera, processor, and will still maybe save you a couple of hundred or even like 400 to 500 bucks. Just like case in point is the Google Pixel 8 Pro. It is the flagship of Google. Yes, the performance is uh, a bit lower in Google Pixel 8 Pro because of the Tensor G3, which is basically does not hold a candle next to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. But if you are not a gamer, that phone performance is sufficient for you. And combined with the Pixel software experience and all the Google shenanigans, the ergonomics is also better on Google Pixel 8 Pro. And the cameras, of course, Pixels are known for the camera. And currently, they are running discounts in UK. At least they are clubbing it with Pixel Buds, and I think in everywhere they Google generally runs some discount. So you can get that phone 300 to 400 pounds dollars cheaper than this phone. There are other flagship offers also. I mean, the last year flagship S23 Ultra is also on a discount, which basically will give you 95% of the things you will get on S24 Ultra. It even has a 10x optical zoom, which Samsung took away from this S24 Ultra. So in terms of options, you can get many other phones at a relatively cheaper price than the S24 Ultra. But it depends on your use case. Like if you're on a budget, if you have the money, then of course I will suggest that you take this phone because this will work for you for the next 7 years. At least that's what Samsung has promised. So that is about the price. Next is the ergonomics. Now I know these days people look for a bigger screen. Now the caveat with a bigger screen phone is that it generally is accompanied by a big battery, and hence it becomes a bit heavy. Now this S24 Ultra is quite a heavy phone. It is basically I think around 230 grams, and which is basically even higher, heavier than the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And because of this design, the ergonomics, you can see, that it's basically like a square, or not a square, a rectangle slab with sharp corners. So when you hold it, these corners can dig into your palm, which might prove uncomfortable to some of you. I have gotten used to it, and if you are using a case, then yeah, it makes the phone a bit more bulky. So that is another thing that you want to consider. There are phones which have slightly less screen size, maybe 6.8 inches. So maybe it's 6.4, 6.5 inches, and it will weigh like 40, 50 gram less than this. Even Google Pixel 8 Pro is I think 15 to 20 grams lighter. iPhone Pro 15 Pro Max is 10 grams lighter. You can go to other phones from like Xiaomi and other brands which will have like around 200 gram weight. So in terms of ergonomics, you need to get used to this phone. It's not an easy phone to handle. So that is the thing. If you're looking for a more easy to use, more comfortable phone, then you need to look for other options, because this is definitely not a comfortable phone to use. Then the third thing is the software experience. So now people generally people are like not we're not a fan of the Samsung's TouchWiz. If you remember the TouchWiz like 5 years back, I mean, it was a mess. It used to lag. Samsung tried to put in all kind of features in that, which made the software very heavy, and it used to lag. But now this One UI is basically a completely refreshed design since the last 2-3 years, and it is very smooth. According to me, I mean, it is still at the very best in terms of the Android skin. I prefer it over the Pixel because I actually use these features that comes with One UI. But there are people who prefer the more traditional look of Android, so that's where the Pixel come in, because the software experience is very good. I mean, even though like I am used to the Samsung One UI, I still like sometimes miss the Pixel UI in terms of the smoothness. But because of the number of features that I personally use on my S24 Ultra, I still think that this is the better software. But it depends on a use case. So that is another thing for which you might not want to use S24 Ultra. Now the other two factors are basically very, like, I'm just nitpicking basically at this point. One is ecosystem. Now Samsung has probably the best ecosystem in the Android world. It has its tablet, it had its Galaxy books, of course the phone, then it has the Galaxy Watch, the buds, and also Samsung has their own white good products, the washing machine, the television set, which basically can be controlled with your Samsung phone. So Samsung has the best Android ecosystem, but still in terms of the experience, Apple is still a bit ahead in terms of the pure experience of the ecosystem. It is Apple. I have personally experienced like Apple ecosystem when I was using my iPhone. I had an iMac. I have an iPad. I use the Apple Watch. So it's just very seamless integration across all those devices. Samsung is the next best in my opinion, probably even better than Google. But still, like, it has to reach to that level of Apple. And if you're already deep in the Apple ecosystem, then of course it makes sense for you to consider an iPhone. So that is a very specific use case, only applicable for a few people. So if you are in the Apple ecosystem, then of course, I mean, maybe it will be better if you just stick with the iPhone. So the last point is the brand perception. Now, what do I mean by brand perception? Basically, this is a Samsung phone. Now you have Apple, you have Google, you have the Chinese brands OnePlus, Xiaomi, you have Sony. And generally what I see is that people have a tendency to be biased towards a brand. Even though the phone is good, they will not go and buy that brand because of their inherent bias for that brand. Like people, I'm just taking an example. Generally, people in India, they are biased towards Apple because they see Apple as a very premium brand, which is true. Even though their product, like if you compare iPhone 15 versus S24 Ultra, I mean, there is no comparison. iPhone 15 has a smaller screen, worse battery, worse camera. Basically, there's no comparison. They belong in different segments, but there's still a perception that since it's Apple, it must be good. Now, it is a good phone, but of course not in the same league as S24 Ultra. So there comes a brand perception that people generally tend to gravitate towards a brand which they feel is like more premium, rather than a brand which is actually giving them a better phone. So that bias always comes in. So if you don't like Samsung at all, then of course, even though S24 Ultra is a very good phone, you will probably not buy that. Again, this is a very specific thing I am talking about. This is not applicable to everyone. but it happens. So this same logic is applied across brands. Some people will be biased against Google, so even if Google comes up with a very good phone, they will not buy it. So that is another reason. So I mean, this is these points I want to talk about. Like, what are the possible reasons that you might not consider an S24 Ultra? Now, the price, the ergonomics, and the software experience are actually a bit more general reasons for which you might not consider the S24 Ultra. The last two things that I talked about, the ecosystem and the brand perception, can vary person to person. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to share my feelings and let me know what you think about this. What do you consider before buying a mobile phone? Is it the brand? Is it the price? Is it something else? Do let me know in the comments, and please do like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers.